Welcome to Understanding the Bible with Pastor Stephen. This is Season 3, Episode 7, Gods, Humans, Aliens, and Ghosts. This will be Part 2 today. Last time we talked about the ancient gods, the Egyptians, Greek, Roman, Norse gods, the Blackfeet Indians, and the Apistatoki who created the sky beings, and what the word Elohim means. How it's used to describe God, it's used to describe Samuel's spirit, false gods, and it's just a generic term for mighty or powerful. Even it's used to describe thunder and wind in Exodus chapter 9 on the plagues of Egypt. So in my terminology here, whenever we see Elohim in the Old Testament talking about the supernatural, I look at it as just a mere spirit creature, a powerful spirit creature, like they didn't know how to describe it, didn't know what to call it. All right. So there are other words to describe spirit creatures in the Bible. Moloch is messenger. Ruach means wind or breath of a rational being. And that is in Job 4:15 uses that word. Bain Elohim, the sons of God, one born or bred of the Elohim. That's in Job 1:6. When it says, now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan came also among them. And that is clearly referring to the angels in heaven around the throne of God. Now, this time we're going to be talking about how demons came about and how that relates to the ancient gods. So, how demons came about. We're not going to talk about the archetypes of Satan. Archetype is in literature. It's a common theme, character, or action, such as the serpent in the Garden of Eden is an archetype of Satan. Lucifer is an archetype of one who is selfish and lets pride destroy him. So Isaiah 14 refers to the king of Babylon and named as Lucifer, and it reveals a little bit more about Satan. In verse 12, it says, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which did weaken the nations? For thou hast said in thine heart, I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. So keep that in mind. We're going to be talking about that pit later on. And where demons actually come from, we don't know when God created them, but we know he made them before the 6 days of creation. So if you look at Job 38:1, then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind. And verse 4 says, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth, when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of God shouted for joy? You see, angels were happy and amazed at the things God was making during the 6 days of creation. All right. Now, the demons, what happened to them, same thing as the angels, but Revelation 12 talks about them. They were in heaven until Satan convinced a third of them to rebel against God. Revelation 12, verse 4, and his tail, the dragons, drew the third part of the stars of heaven and did cast them to the earth. Now, if it just stopped there, a lot of people say they spiritualize that and say it didn't really happen, or it's something that happens in the future, or it's not talking about angels, and people make stuff up about it. But if you just read the next couple of verses, verse 7, 8, and 9 tells you what that means. And there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. In the Bible, they are called demons, evil spirits, princes, stars of heaven, and sons of God. Jesus said himself that these angels of Satan are destined for hell. In Matthew 25:41, then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. And these angels know their destiny. If you read Matthew 8:28 through 31, it's very clear that they know that they have a appointed time where they're going to be thrown into the lake of fire. Now, there's a lie that's being told out there that demons use pronouns they and them, and that's a load of crap. Mark 5:8-12 clearly explains that there was a legion of demons. There were many demons inside this one man. And in verse 12, Mark 5:12, it says, all the devils besought him, Jesus, saying, send us into the swine that we may enter into them. So don't buy into the lies that you see on social media and stuff like that. Look into the words yourself, okay? But anyways, the point is, Jesus uses the word for devil here, which is daemon or daemonii, which is where we get the word demon. So when we say demon, we're saying devils like Jesus did, which is the angels that have an appointed time to go into the lake of fire, which God cast out of heaven, and a third of them are roaming the earth. Okay. So daemon actually means supernatural spirit of a bad nature. So it's a supernatural spirit. It's an angel that is evil now, even though they used to be God's messengers up in heaven. All right. Now, here's where it gets interesting. There's a couple references to their offspring. I know it sounds weird, but check this out. They're called giants or Nephilim. If you look at Numbers 13:32, when the Jews were coming into the promised land and they sent in the 12 spies, and it says, all the people that we saw in that land are men of a great stature, Numbers 13:33, and there we saw the giants, the son of Anak, which was a race of people, a line of people, which come from the giants. And we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. So there's this ancient people that came from a certain line, a certain family of Anak, and his family descended from the giants. Now then another term, and that's Nephil. It's where we get the term Nephilim. Okay. Then there's another term called Raphim or Rapha for giant, which is used 21 times in the Old Testament. And this is in Joshua 13:12. All the kingdom of Og and Bashan, which reigned in Ashtaroth and in Edrei, who remained of the remnant of the giants. For these did Moses smite and cast them out. Now, these giants came from where? And this is what it gets down to, is Genesis chapter 6. And we're going to dig into this a little bit deep here, so pay attention. Genesis 6 verse 1, maybe pull out your Bible and read some of this. It came to pass, when men began to multiply in the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. And they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh. Yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and the creeping thing, and the fowls of the air, for it repenteth me that I made them. But Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord. So let's dig into that a little bit and see what these giants and mighty men are, okay? So the idea here is that demons had sex with humans. It said, took them wives. Wives is the word ishash nashim. And that is feminine plural, means women or adulteress or every female. It's used in the same sense as enoshi. And that means mortal. So they took them, not wives is not the actual word. The actual word is they took them many women, many mortals. Why is that word? See, because the sons of God were not mortal. They're angels. And they bare children by them. So that's the concept of sex, which may be why the translators in the English time period, when they translated this, used the word wives instead of adulteresses or many mortal females. They translated the word wives because these things were having sex with women, and sex meant husband and wife in those days in the 1600s when they were translating this into English. Okay. Now this created the giants, where it said they had giants in those days, the Nephilim. That's again where we get the word Nephilim. The word mighty men is Gibor, which is powerful, champion, or giant. And the words of old is Olam, which means concealed, the vanishing point outside of time or eternity. And men of renown is Sham or Shame, men of definite and conspicuous position, famous people known over the world. So what this actually says, if you translate straight from the Hebrew instead of making up these nice sounding words like wives for American English, it's the sons of God, the angels, saw the daughters of men that they were fair, and they took them mortals of whichever one they wanted. And there were giants in those days when the angels came in unto the daughters of men and they bare children to them. The same became powerful, gigantic men of the vanishing outside of time, and they became famous. That's what that means. These beings had children that were not normal humans. That's where you get the ideas of the gods. Think of people like Hercules or I don't know, any other number of ancient gods and sons of gods and Thor and all of their children and all the different mythologies that you hear. Well, here's another interesting point, and here's where I only have one Bible verse to share with on this point, so a lot of this is my opinion. It stands to reason that these demons, these angels, had sex with other creatures, not just humans. If they did that with fish, the result would be half human, half fish, maybe a mermaid. Horses would be centaurs. Goats would be the satyr, the goat with the hind legs, with the ears and horns of a goat, but the human upper body and face. Here's why I say that. This is very interesting. Leviticus 17:7. So this is after Genesis. Okay, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus. So we're talking hundreds of years later. Leviticus 17:7. And they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto devils, after whom they have gone a-whoring. This shall be a statute forever unto them throughout their generations. That was a law made for the Jews. Do not offer sacrifices unto devils. It's very interesting when you look at the Hebrew word for devils there. That's a poor translation in my opinion. It's not devils. It's sair or saur, which means shaggy, a he-goat, or a satyr. Half goat, half human. So what it really says is, they shall no more offer their sacrifices unto the mythical creature, the satyr. Why would God say that if it begs the question, what type of creatures are these? And it was well known enough that God had to make a law that you don't worship this half man, half goat. And of course, again, in English, our modern day translation, we just translated it into devils because we didn't like this idea of maybe there were some sort of like half magical creatures that come from Genesis 6. Now, here's the interesting thing. All the cultures in all the continents of the world that speak of these types of magical beings have these things in common. These beings were born of the gods. Usually they're half human and half creature. They have powers beyond mere humans, and they vanish. They're hard to find. What's that word from Genesis 6? Men of old, men of the vanishing, outside of time. They can appear and disappear. So we currently, in this modern age, have legends of mermaids in Haiti. Or in various cultures, elves that have power over nature. People like Hercules, the son of Zeus, who have great feats of strength, right?